Let me first unmute. So I think we are live. The world can hear us. I would like to, first of all, welcome you and thank you for being here today and discussing the equality, diversity, inclusion topics in higher education. We have a diverse panel here with us today. From the Institute of Philosophy and Sociology at the Bulgarian Academy of Sciences in Sofia, we have Professor Ljuba Spasova. Then from University of Sarajevo, Faculty of Political Science, we have Professor Sarina Bakic. And then we have two professors from University in Genoa in Italy, both from the departments of chemistry and industrial chemistry, Professor Davide Pedis and Professor Paolo Picardo. So thank you very much again for being here. I'm Yasmin Kahasic. I'm the coordinator of the EDIRE program from the computer science faculty at the University Sarajevo School of Science and Technology. And we are very happy to implement this project together with our partners, one of them being University of Genoa. And our plan is to enhance our research through the usage of equality, diversity, and inclusion. So today we would like to use this time to discuss these topics and give some ideas to other academics, but also practitioners and researchers in other industries on how to think about these important topics while they doing research and while they are in higher education environment. So for start, we would all like to hear something more from you. So we will start with Ljuba. So if you can tell us a bit about your experience of equality, diversity and inclusion principles in Bulgaria and your personal in general.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for this opportunity to be here in this lovely discussion. I have several slides, but probably it will be, I don't know, it would be easier to use the slides. Okay, let's try.
Yes, you should be able. Yeah, perfect.
Okay, I'm going to keep it short. So just, skip some slides. So my name is Ljuba Spasova and I'm from the Institute of Philosophy and Sociology, as already said. The Institute, we are part of the Bulgarian Academy of Sciences. This is the first thing that you should know. So we are an entity of our own, but actually we are part of a bigger research institution. And for education, we only have PhD students. We don't have master's or bachelor degrees. So this is important to keep in mind when we talk about our peculiarities, let's say. Other important thing is that we are primarily concerned with research, and of course with research on social sciences and philosophy. So the mission of the Institute is to ensure adequate knowledge on the social processes and contribute to optimizing the policy making in the major socio-economic field. EDI practices. Well, here it is kind of how to say, we can say a lot of good things and a lot of not that very good things. Of course, we have anti-discriminatory rules, which is a good thing, but it is the fact that equality, diversity, and inclusion is not only anti-discrimination. So as far as EDI practices, there is this issue that we are still framing it as anti-discriminatory. So as long as nobody is specifically discriminated, there is not much done except for the gender, but this is something new and I will tell you about it in a couple of minutes. So we have the ethical committee that is responsible for the EDI practices. which is anti-discriminatory practices. There are national strategies specifically on gender equality, institutional strategies specifically on gender equality, and very recently gender equality plans in our institute and the academy. And here as well, there are some issues. So nothing on disability, nothing on ethnicity, as far as it is not discrimination. So we are currently implementing the Milieu project, and this is actually where we started with the EDI practices and looking further into this matter in our institute. So the project is Women, Disability and Inclusion, Scientific Excellence in Bulgaria, and it's in its third year currently. And as you see, we are focused on gender. Here it is framed women, but we actually do gender studies and disability. So gender in and EDI practices, as it is one of the key topics today. The main challenges related to gender in research and in academia, in our context, are the anti-gender discourse movement that is leading to the legitimization of the field. So today it is kind of hard to talk about gender without risking very serious misconception and critique that is out of nowhere, let's say, but also very important. I mean, as to discourse and agenda setting and to negative understanding of the general audience. Another thing is, which is actually a good thing, but in our case, is kind of challenging, is the gender balance that is already in place in academia, in social sciences, especially for years now, and also, of course, in STEM disciplines. Gender equality is how to say, it is traditionally perceived as gender balance, and people say that we already have that, so why do something? And the last thing is the misunderstanding and undermining of the need of gender equality plans, which we saw on a couple of occasions while implementing Milieu. Okay, so now what was the general, how to say, the more wider framework and of the gender equality in science in Bulgaria? So we see we are doing really nice. We are in the top third. So there is good career development, good practices in decision making, but strong presence in most STEM disciplines, as I already said. Something specific about our institute is the challenge of feminization. So at one point we come to this paradox when, in fact, with the gender equality plans, because at the academy every institute has gender equality plans. So at one point we come to this paradox where we have to actually insist on more participation of men. Which, given the context of the general Bulgarian population, is kind of, reinforcing the overall patriarchal domain that is still present. Okay, so something about some activities in Milieu about mainstreaming gender. We did conferences. We are now currently doing a lecture course specifically on gender and sexuality studies and many trainings related to gender mainstreaming. We adopted the gender equality plan very much because of now it is compulsory for the Horizon Europe. So a lot of things about gender. How about disabilities, which is another key topic of our project. Okay, I'm missing a slide here, but disabilities are not really present. I mean, equality on this and inclusion of people with disabilities is not really present. There is absolutely nothing, no word about equal opportunities and inclusion of people with disabilities, neither on national level in the strategies nor in academy level. Basically, everything is focused on gender nowadays, but nothing about any other aspects. So what we did is, again, conferences. There is a lecture course in Bulgarian, many trainings related to other aspects of equality, diversity, and inclusion. So we're trying to mainstream disability also in academia. I mean, in general, not only as a research topic, with awareness rising, discussions on structural changes, and also we are currently doing some architectural renovation. So it is something that we are insisting on, more architectural challenges are being removed, because this is also a topic at our institute. Okay, thank you. I hope it was not too long, and I hope you understand where my point of view comes from.
Yes, thank you very much, Luba. Yes, I recently just found out what's a bit more about what's happening in Bulgaria, and being, you know, both so geographically close. It's amazing that we need European projects to connect us and actually to understand what's happening in other places very close to us. Yes, so thank you very much for a nice overview. So I would like to ask now Professor Sarina Bakic to tell us about her experience and the experience perhaps we have here in our country, Bosnia and Herzegovina.
Thank you very much, dear colleague Jasminka, and I'm really, really pleased to meet all of you, and I'm glad to share some of my critical sociological view on this topic of your valuable project altogether. In more general term, achievement of social equality and social inclusion are some of the key priorities for development of today's contemporary society, particularly in Western Balkans, in Bosnia and Herzegovina. I forgot actually to send you regards from Sarajevo and from Faculty of Political Science, from my office here, and just to introduce myself, that I'm a professor of sociology at the Faculty of Political Science. On the other hand, every society, even contemporary society, has its context. So we can actually talk about gender equality and inclusion in specific societal context of Bosnia and Herzegovina. The greatest part of scientific community, when we speak about women in Bosnia and Herzegovina, is actually concentrated at the higher universities. And on behalf of the University of Sarajevo, I can say that, for example, at our faculty, relating to what colleague Spasova was saying, we are not so much specific on gender, more in sociological matter through the modules such as sociology of gender. But some other projects we didn't manage to apply so much, but I have to say that we are from a couple of years ago trying to develop cultural memories regarding the women in higher education. Talking about the context recently, a couple of days ago, that's why I want to be a little bit provocative, maybe to have some discussion later if we would have a time. One of the most popular web news portal in Bosnia and Herzegovina, Kliks, presented the news that Bosnia and Herzegovina are in top 10 countries in Europe according to the number of women, for example, that are participating in science. This is, of course, very good news. But what I wanted to say is that this gap between gender, and what I would like to underline for our discussion, is actually developed on the basis of power. It is good news that there are so many women at the higher education institutions, women that are professional scientists. But I think that the reason why so many women are here today is because power, social, political, economical power, is not anymore at the universities. It's more transferred in the other sectors of society, what is actually more related to male professions. What I wanted to tell you that still, beside a certain cultural growth and the opening of society, Bosnia and Herzegovina is still traditional oriented society. We still have these double roles of women today, where they are still expected to be more at home, to be more with their families, and not to develop and to think about their careers and, unfortunately, their educations, and of course underlying the aspects of the difference between rural and urban areas in Bosnia and Herzegovina societies. And of course, in urban areas in Bosnia and Herzegovina, more women, of course, participate in public life than in rural communities within our societies. Still, I would like to underline this power struggle, why this number of women is not significant for a better position of them. There are not so many women in the, for example, management positions, not only at the institute, in general I'm speaking about, and in the position where decision-making processes are really, really important. Somehow we feel, when we discuss this topic among our colleagues and of course among our students, they're very interested about this topic, it is always the questions if we live on this matter, on this issue, of course, in the society of hypocrisy, where some certain changes are made only because of makeup, only because to have a woman in certain positions, but the decisions are actually made by male. I had some also questions, just in short. Do I have, Jasminka, more time a little bit, or?
Yes, please take another minute if you.
Thank you. Just maybe some experience with our students. We are, of course, in the domain of social science, and I have to admit that our students, particular, of course, female, are very interested in master thesis regarding the gender equality and inclusion. Of course, there is a issue of femicide that is present in Bosnia and Herzegovina and in other societies in Western Balkans. And I see the femicide is really, really, in a way, popular for young students to analyze, to research this really important social issue, social and cultural issue as well. I really tried to be as much general, but to give you some certain major aspects and my personal worries about this issue. So I will be very happy to participate furthermore in discussion and, of course, questions if you have any. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Sarina, for a nice quick overview of the situation we have here in Bosnia and Herzegovina. And in the motto of our project, Equality, Diversity and Inclusion, our next presenter is going to be Professor Davide Pedis from Chemistry, Industrial Chemistry program at the University of Genoa. So could you please tell us about your experience as a chemist and as somebody coming from an EU institution? You know, Bosnia and Herzegovina just recently became an EU candidate country. So we are very eager to hear how things are functioning on the other side in the European Union.
Thank you. Thank you, Jasminka. If I can, I will share some slides if it's possible. To be okay, let's try. Tell me if you can, if you can see.
Yes.
If you can see my screen.
Perfect.
So actually, I don't know if I am the right person to give you an answer. I will just, because I'm not big expert in gender issues, I will just try to give you some ideas about my experience. As you can see, my affiliation in Genova, I will try to go a little bit back in my life. Actually, for Italian people, it's easy to recognize me because my accent is very strong, but actually I'm coming from Sardinia, from this highland in south of Italy. Then it's quite different situation with respect to the north of the country, from a small city that is called Iglesias, and I have a classical education. And my first gender issue is starting in high school, because in classical education, we were 25 person in my class, and we were just 23 girls and just 3 boys. This was the first point, the first starting point. And to be honest, it could be interesting to discuss why it's like this. I have an idea, but so of course it could be maybe nice to discuss later. Then after I moved to Cagliari, that is a wonderful city again in Sardinia, where I got my PhD and my master's degree in chemistry, in physical chemistry. And I have also kind of small parenthesis in engineering school. And actually, suddenly the situation, it was completely opposite. Then there was the majority of students was boys, and there was few girls in my class at the university, and even during the PhD. One times again, I have some ideas about this happen in Italy. It could be nice to have a discussion with you, I mean, to understand, I mean, if this is the same in other countries or not. Then after, during my PhD, I have several experience. And then, to be honest, I try to put order now in my mind, but I have an experience of one year in Denmark. And after this 1 year, I was strongly linked to Scandinavian countries, where, to be honest, I saw that the situation is quite different. This was my first impression, of course, but it was really some kind of equality situation between gender, I mean, between boys and girls in the department, even Department of Physics. And after, I was back in Rome, but in a different context. Then I will bring to you not only the experience coming from the University of Genova, but from 10 years, basically, of my career, I was working in the Italian National Research Council. That is the biggest public research institution in Italy. I'm still affiliated, I'm still working in National Research Council. And then I will be back to this point, because it's quite interesting to understand what happens and what is going to happen now in this kind of institution. And now in my career, I have several experience abroad, but it was quite interesting. And then I'm really happy to have this panel today, because I was basically employed as a senior scientist in Vinča Institute in Belgrade for 1 year, in a framework of a project that is called ERA Chair Project. This was very, 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 very interesting experience for me. I was basically let's say team leader in this project. I was leading this team. It was very, very nice, because in this team there was 2 Serbian person, then Nikola Knezevic and Ana Mrakovic, and Elizabeth Ilch was a postdoc recruited from Hungary. Then it was really an international situation in which I can really appreciate. One times again, to be honest, I didn't feel real problem in terms of gender situation in this country. It was probably I don't know if this situation was exactly describing the real situation in the country, because I was in a very international context with I mean, European air, let's say, but of course I didn't basically have big issues. I was back in Rome, and now, as Jasminka says, I'm a university professor at chemistry department in Genova, and also I'm associated researcher at ISM CNR. Okay, basically, as you can see, my group now that I'm leading, is a mixed unit between university and CNR. And to be honest, when I arrived in CNR, I'm talking about 2009, then we are talking about more than, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, the percentage of women doing research was extremely low in my institute. The institute was Institute of Structure of Matter, is an institute where you can find chemists and physicists, and this was quite well crystallized situation. Okay. In any case, about this, if you give me 1 minute, I will show you a new, let's say, research that we are doing now. Sorry. Because we are basically investigating. These are very, very fresh results. We are doing a research to certify at that moment how many women are present in the research area of CNR in Rome. This research area is one of the biggest research area in Italy. We have more than 800 researchers, and very interesting, CNR is a research center with all disciplines. And in this area, we have 11 institutes. I'm sorry, this file is in Italian. This is a very, very fresh data, but you can see that we have institute coming from biology and from structure matter, polar science, but also, let's say, cultural heritage. Then we have a really, really, really huge number of institutes. And what you can really understand here, even if you cannot understand Italian, is that at the moment, 51% of researchers working in CNR in Rome are women. This is, I guess, that is quite interesting results, because it changed completely the perspective with respect to when I start to work in CNR and in research in Italy. Okay, just going back to my presentation, our group, this is not so important, but just to give you an idea, is working on nanostructure magnetic materials. And we have 3 research lines in the group, and I'm leading 1 research line. This research line is, it's called, hybrid organic, inorganic, magnetic in our architecture. And I'm really happy to show you my stuff at the moment. And this is quite interesting because, as I told you, my group is a mixed unit between Genova and Rome. Then these people are working in Genova and in Rome and moving between the 2 cities. But as you can see, let's say, among our postdocs, 2 of them are 2 girls, 2 women. And this is quite interesting because these 2 women, especially, for example, Sousa Slimani, that is working with me for many years, they are coming from Tunisia and from Iran. Then there is not just a gender issue, but it's also a cultural issue. And I guess that this is, in my opinion, is bringing a very important added value to our group, both from science, but what is fantastic, and unfortunately, I totally missed this opportunity, is that my master's students, means students 25, 23, 24, 25 years, bachelor students even, they are working in an international context, even with women coming from a completely different culture. And to be honest, this is, in my opinion, when I was student, there was not this occasion. Okay, in Cagliari, when I did my PhD and my master degree, let's say the surrounding was much more local. in this case, I guess this is quite important to bring from the beginning, I mean, an international context that help people to grow up from a point of view of gender issues. Okay, our group is very active in a European project, and I'm just bringing to you, Jasmine, I don't know if I have a few minutes more, just to—
Yes, please.
Just to give you some snapshots, and then we can eventually see which kind of topic we would like to discuss better. But so we have several projects, and at the moment I'm involved in a big project that is coordinated by Diego Colombara at the University of Genova, that is not here today. This project is called REMAP. It's a AC Pathfinder Open project. I will not enter in detail about the scientific background of this project, but what we are going to do is to create a new masking system based on smart magnetic fluids that will help to create new photovoltaic panels. So the technology is quite complex. Let's say that the project is IGRIS project. The consortium, as you can see, is international consortium, and we have partners from Greece, from Portugal, from Luxembourg, Italian partners. Of course, we have even some SMI that are bringing expertise in the project. And I'm going to show with you, during our submission process in the new system of European Union, you can have this right to react. They can make you some, let's say, comments to the project. And despite we were taking care about gender issues, we get some comments from experts in this gender issue. And in this phase, we should be honest, I would like to thank the UniGES staff that help us a lot to answer to this issue. I'm talking about Cinzia Leone and Rita and so on. And as you can see, we basically, even if we believe that in this kind of technologies, like the technology proposed by the MAP, there are not specific gender issue, we basically try to answer to this, and our strategy in REMAP is basically try to, in the European project, try to prepare a, let's say, very, very well-defined communication and dissemination activities, and especially when we are working in events related to the popularization of science, like science festivals and so on, what we are trying to do is to, let's say, make a monitoring about the perception of the people about our technology, and especially about our gender issues. This is something that, to be honest, I'm following or start to following right now, because the activity of my group in gender in dissemination is very important. And with my friends and group mate, we create a cultural association that is called Science School. This association is founded by us 5 years ago. And in this association, what we are basically doing is outreach events, communication of science, both to communication and dissemination means scientific conferences and science festivals. And this is a very, very good instrument in order to monitoring all the perception in terms of gender. And the last slide is devoted to, we are trying to monitoring, but to give also answers to some problems that we believe that are typical in outreach activities. This is our last program, that is called Science School for Kids Conference Edition. Basically, in our conferences, school is proposing some kind of scientific kindergarten, means helping families to participate to the conference. But the big novelty is that during the conference, the kids can stay with other scientists that are preparing some scientific pathway for the kids. Okay, this means that parents are basically attending conferences and kids are doing science in parallel. I mean, I don't know. That's all, Yasmin. I hope that I give you at least some inputs.
Yeah,
to-
thank you.
to
Thank you very
discuss.
much.
Okay.
Yes, you showed us some very good
Sorry to be long.
examples.
Sorry to be long.
No, it's okay. You give us some very good examples of the responsible research and innovation that EU is seeking for the funding in the Horizon Europe project, but also the good practices that help us enhance our communities. Yes, so that was very helpful. Thank you very much, Davide. And we also have our last speaker from the panel today, Paolo Picardo, who also comes from the Faculty of Chemistry. So if we can hear you about your experience, Paolo, please, the floor is yours.
Of course, and I will do it with pleasure. Well, I don't have any slides, so it will be just my voice, and you will understand, I think, during my presentation why. But the voice is very important in my opinion. And sometimes voice is more communicative than a lot of images. Well, yes, I'm a scientist and I work in what is called the hard science. So a lot of people talk to me and think that we live in a world where differences are accepted. And then we shouldn't have troubles with gender issues or other kind of differences that make us unique. And indeed, it is true that science, more than anything else, it's explaining how in nature differences are a part of richness. And it's only thanks to differences that we can increase our skills reciprocally, and then just confronting it to each other, talking to each other. Well, this is true, but let me tell you a story. When I come from the humanities, so I'm not basically a science in my roots. I just have my evolution in science, but I come from humanities. And in humanities, these differences were more visible, and I noticed them. It might seem strange, but a lot of people in humanities are really referring to, if you write poetry, then you must be, pardon me for this term, gay or homosexual. Or if you are a young woman, so if you are a girl, you should study more literature than work in science. And this was completely wrong. But this is a kind of trouble that is not visible only in the, let's say, high education. It has its roots in the family, in the local culture, in primary school, where there are already this kind of patterns to follow. When I have the possibility in my role of activist in dissemination to talk to young students from the primary school, my impression is that they are really equal. They all contribute, each one with a very original approach. And I can't see any difference of gender, any difference of geographical origin or knowledge, or whatever is the reason that we use to differentiate people. It's only while growing that there is this kind of differing approach, and at school and in the families, we have this problem. When I was a student in the chemistry sciences, I had the impression that there were no gender issues. I was completely unaware of this. And I saw teachers, professors, equally distributed. I had researchers and then even university mates equally distributed. And I never noticed any kind of gender issue. Then I started to work more in dissemination activities. I started to work more in public awareness. And I noticed that I was simply unaware. So I didn't have the tools to notice this difference, to notice the existence of this kind of issues. And only the moment I started to work in public awareness, I understood that the first thing I want to do is to create the tools for people to be aware. And then now that I have an opportunity, because I've been nominated by the rector of our university as a delegate for the web radio and for the cinema promotion, I decided to work hard and to use the opportunity of this very important and powerful communication tool, which is the radio and through the website, and also the podcasting, to make people aware. And it's very important. We worked already with people, for example, once we made the survey on all those that would like to work, cooperate, or simply to listen to our broadcasting, we also made at the end of the survey the possibility to declare their own gender. And this was criticized by 1% of people responding to the survey. Like, we don't need to have these kind of questions, but only 1%. The remaining 99% shared their definition of gender. And we had close to 2% of non-binary people. Of course, anonymous, because this was the part of the survey. But that was for us very important, because it meant that in the more than 1,500 people replying to the survey, there were a consciousness. But the remaining people not replying to the survey or simply criticizing the survey needed to become aware. And this is what we want to do. And this is one of our many missions with this kind of activity in the web radio and podcasting. Then we had the opportunity to work, for example, when let's say the rising movements in Iran started. Iranian students came to me and said, can we do something? And what we did was to organize interviews, to organize broadcasting, multilingual, so in Italian, in Farsi, in English, and to have a confrontation among people. And this was really helpful. This created a community with a higher level of awareness on this kind of topic, which is not simply people revolting against the official power, but is also a cultural revolution. And then it's important to discuss about this with the right terms. So I think that to make people aware is a very important strategy. And this was my contribution. I mean, this is what I wanted to share with you. I need your support, and of course Cinzia is here. She is one of those inviting me to present something in this panel, and I'm very glad that she offered me this opportunity. And I really express this wish that we can cooperate together and use this kind of tools that technology offer to us to create people awareness, because the best moment will come when we are all aware. We will never have to talk any longer about gender or differences issues. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Paolo. Yeah, I think the topic you brought up is very important, that culturally we are brought up biased. It's not just gender bias, but it's all these other kinds of biases that we have to people that are different from us in any sort of way. And it's something that's not easy to overcome. There has to be a lot of training. We have to all of us have to work a lot on ourselves to overcome these biases. And I completely agree with you that these trainings and education of us, ourselves, and the others about these topics is something that's crucial, so that we can have these great diverse teams that are addressing the scientific problems in a diverse way and coming up with the best solutions for the whole planet. So Yeah, so maybe one thing that, while I was listening to you that came to my mind, especially when Davide was going through the different countries in Europe, I've also participated in one European project where we actually analyzed the statistics from different European countries. And while we did have differences in absolute numbers, the percentages. So for example, participation is always higher. And this was mentioned also by both Professors Pasova and Bakic. We have high participation, but when you look at the power, who has the power and governing and makes the decision processes, then the number of women drops. So when you do analysis by the rank, then you see that, you have a dropping line as the power grows. And all the data in all the European countries we analyzed, we had the same curve. The absolute numbers differed a little bit, but the trends were all the same, So I was wondering, we have some questions in here down in our chat, but also, one question that I have, as you know, the European Commission is now requiring this gender equality plan of each institution of higher education to have this gender equality plan. And if you may say, how has this influenced things at your institution, the way you see it, so that would be my question. But then we also have a number of questions. Maybe we can leave mine for last, but let's see. We have one from Cynthia that is to Davides. Has it been too difficult to introduce gender in hard science project like the one you explained? So that's a very good one about engendering research.
Okay. Okay, if it's too difficult, I don't know. I mean, working with Cynthia and her team, it was not so difficult because they are working very, very well. But generally speaking, in my opinion, sometimes the difficulties is related to the. I would like to do some self-criticism. Means the background of art scientists means that sometimes they are not so sensible to gender issues. Okay, and then to convince them that to create a gender strategy, let's say, it's extremely important, and it's something more, in my opinion, that put an equal number of women and men in key position and try to make this kind of geographic things. So the gender strategy should be much more. Then the most difficult point, in my opinion, is to convince all scientists involved in the project that the gender issues are important. I mean, that's the point. I mean, yes.
Yeah. And I would also like to underline, how you projected that the research that you produce in diverse teams is more meaningful, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So I think
definitely.
That's very important to underline. So you have one more question from Clara. You have mentioned several projects related with children and science. Was gender also included in those activities? If so, how did the children react?
Okay, to be honest, I mean, the gender was included in this activity. Okay, first of all, I should say that this association is relatively young. I mean, in terms of, we are proposing new ideas, but we still not have so much data to give you, Clara, a perfect answer. So the point is that, of course, we are trying to put gender issue in each project. The president of the association is Sara Lauretti. I mean, that is a woman, and she is a researcher, a brilliant researcher. She knows very, very well all the background of gender. Then we are trying to put these elements. It's a starting point, and to be honest, so we are very, very happy about the reaction of the children. That is extremely positive. I mean, and this means that the new generation, probably they will have much less problem with respect to us in terms of gender approach. So Yasminka, I'm trying to keep answer quite short in order to give.
Okay. Thanks. Yeah. Thank you, Davide. So we have another question to Paolo. how important means like a radio to introduce changes at the institutional level from the bottom up? I mean, to embed and also impose inclusiveness in our academic life.
Well, I think that every kind of change, I don't want to use the term revolution, but it's close to that, come from the bottom and come silently. So radio is something that we all listen, and I'd like to make a sort of background noise. And in this case, we can really create people listening to us and starting to think about something, not to convince them, but to think about, to become aware, and then to use their own reason to understand what is correct and what is not. Then I think that if the question is how important are means like radio, I think dramatically important. And we often misunderstood the power of this kind of tools. We shall remember that the radio, since its invention, has been a tool to communicate very far, to make people far away in geography, like a close community, and to exchange. It has been of dramatic importance every time, strategic also during war. I mean, I'm sorry to talk about such a sad topic, but radio is very important. And the moment radio is communicating to everyone, the moment radio is talking to everyone equally, it's completely open to everyone. I mean, to listen to a radio, you don't need to be something. Everyone can listen to the radio. And of course, what is important is that the one making the radio is aware that language should be cared. So you need to use a language where you are inclusive. You need to use a language where you can talk to everyone, not making the difference because you are cultivated and then you want to people know how much you know. But the best, I mean, I remember Einstein saying that when you know a lot, you can use simple words. When you use complicated words, it means that you don't understand what you say.
I like that.
And so this is true. The podcast is a tool to make the ephemeric essence of the radio lasting longer. And the podcast is even inclusive for those having troubles by hearing, because everything that is in the podcast is then translated into a text and then can be read. And then also this kind of barrier has been faced and by us planned to be passed beyond. And then we really try hard to do this. And this will change the institutions. It's a good question. We can't wait for a very fast change. This won't come. But on the long time, yes. Because the moment we form the mind of people, then people will ask for something specific, and then the authorities, what is called the governance, will have to respond to the request from the bottom, from the basis.
Thank you, Paolo. So it's nice to hear that radio can help with the socioeconomic barriers, but also with disabilities. And so those are all the different kinds of inequalities that we have in our societies. And it's always important to think of ways to dismantle them. So the next question we have for Luba is, have you seen any impact of the EU project Milieu on organizations of people outside IFS?
Well, yes. The short answer is yes. We did conferences. The last one was very, very well attended last year in Sofia, because we did a lot of promoting. We started early, promoted a lot. We had 50 applications for for a conference that is organized by a project. It's not some institution or association, this was really a lot. And also when we do our trainings or whatever activities, we disseminate to the whole academy. And also if the topic is appropriate, or if it's, how to say, we think it will be of interest to other universities, we also distribute to the whole Bulgarian academia, let's say. So for instance, we did a training on gender mainstreaming, and we distributed to all the universities, to 60 universities in Bulgaria, and a lot of people came. Also, yesterday we had a training on mental health in academia, and we distributed to all the universities, all the academies. So everybody in Bulgaria that is into research understood about this, about this training. And also we do it also for other, our courses on gender and sexuality and disability and inclusion are well attended, let's say, not only from people of the institute, but also young scholars or experienced scholars. We also distributed calls also to NGOs, because we want to, well, we are at a point where we need the network. So we are just beginning. I mean, the problems are huge, and we are just beginning to create awareness. So we are trying to do the network right now. But yes, I think we can say definitely. Also on the structural level, we helped with the gender equality plan for the whole academia. This is 46 institutes. It's a huge research academia, so with a lot of institutes. So yes, also on the structural level, I think we have some impact as well. Thank you. Hope this answered.
Yes, great. I think also I feel like there isn't many connections between the different institutions that are doing research in Bosnia and Herzegovina as well. But European projects help, because, you know, as a part of these projects, we do lots of activities and we disseminate them. And European projects are a really good tool for creating cohesion in the country and the region as well. And then we have time for one more question for Sarina, that's coming from Carla. So it's asking, what kind of strategies can be adopted in order to incorporate an equality, diversity, inclusion perspective in universities' policies? What about the Bosnian Herzegovina experience on this process of institutionalization? Thanks.
Thank you. Let me just first say I completely agree with colleague Jasminka that European projects in many aspects actually provide the matter of gender and all issues that are specific to Bosnia and Herzegovina more participation. And regarding this question, because we are, I think, close to the end of our meeting, Bosnia and Herzegovina in general has no problem in adopting strategies. But the problem is in their, not problem in creating strategies, the problem is in their implementation. We have a great strategies, we have a beautiful strategies, but when you have to place them, incorporate them on the field, is it on any kind of institutions, even at the university, then we have some problems. Dear Clara, if problems can be solved, it is definitely by an education, and this project can be and is already a tool for education on certain on different perspectives on gender and equality and diversity. So for Bosnia and Herzegovina, it's much more on doing the things, not only having a strategy for the sake of them.
Thank you very much, Sarina. Yeah, unfortunately, you know, it's not just Bosnia, you know, a lot of the countries have this similar problem where, you know, the policies are nice and adopted, but you know, when it comes to implementation, you know, we have to all do more for greater results.
And especially in the context of everyday life.
Yes.
in this matter. It's really, really important.
Exactly. It's not just, workplace, it's family, it's, all the relations every day,
Exactly.
every hour. Yes. So I'd love finishing just in time. So I'd like to thank you all for participating. This was our second meeting of the project. We're just 6 months through. We have 2.5 years, and we will add you all to our mailing list and let you know what's happening. So you know what progress we are making. And we hope you will join some of our activities as well, so that we can work on all these issues together and broaden our networks. And hopefully, we will share this recording, and hopefully we'll have other people inspired by what our great panelists have said today. And we've spread the implementation of equality, diversity, and inclusion in higher education. So thank you very much again, and we'll keep in touch. Okay. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Yasminka. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
I'll rejoin.